When a child is identified as needing special education services, it can mean significant changes in their educational programming. An IEP is an Individualized Education Program designed to provide students access to the general education environment with the least amount of restrictions. While the IEP is composed of many different parts, we're only going to talk about the pieces most relevant to your job as a paraprofessional. IEP meetings are held once per year. These are called annual IEP meetings. Annual meetings require preparation, observations, and updates to all sections of the IEP. Usually, any free chance the special education teacher gets will be spent working on paperwork for an upcoming IEP meeting. The most relevant parts of the IEP to a paraprofessional are student strengths, preferences, and interests, present levels, accommodations and modifications, and goals. However, every 3 years, each student on an IEP will undergo a reevaluation. This process is exactly as it sounds. The student undergoes extensive testing and evaluations to make sure they still need special education services. Most of the time, students remain eligible for special education services, but sometimes students no longer require an IEP after a reevaluation. This 3-year schedule is different for each student. So if you hear a teacher or service provider say, "Abby has a reevaluation coming up," this typically means the IEP team is about to complete a lot of paperwork for the student, and you can expect that the student may be pulled from classes to undergo testing with a variety of service providers. After a reevaluation is completed, the student will not have another one for 3 years unless requested earlier. As stated before, the most important parts of the IEP that will help you in the classroom are the student's strengths, preferences, interests, present levels, accommodations and modifications, and goals. The student's strengths, preferences, and interests will be the most helpful thing you may read prior to meeting a student for the first time. This information gives you something to talk about if a student is hesitant to communicate, and it will help you build rapport immediately. When students feel they have a genuine connection with a trusted adult, they will most likely perform better. These interests can also be incorporated within classwork if the student is having trouble grasping a concept or doesn't feel like doing the work that day. As the year goes on, you'll get to know your students better and will develop positive relationships with each one. This is a good starting place. Second, present levels are exactly as they sound. It's a set of data points and evaluations that describe where a student is currently functioning academically, behaviorally, and socially. Think reading, writing, and math levels. Your supervising teacher can assist with interpreting data and help make it relevant to the work you'll be doing with the students. Accommodations and modifications can be a little trickier. Accommodations are ways teachers can make the task accessible to the student based on their disability need. Teachers are not changing the content of the learning material, but are able to level the playing field by implementing certain services to ensure accurate performance by the student regardless of disability. Some common accommodations could be extended time on assessments. Most of the time, this will be described as time and a half or double time, depending on the need. Separate testing area. This alleviates distractions and ensures a quiet, semi-private, or private space for students to take exams. Oral script. Some students need tests, assignments, directions, etc. read out loud to increase comprehension. If you're reading a test out loud, it's important that you read each question and answer as it is written on the exam. If you're worried about the student's understanding of the content or vocabulary on an exam, discuss these concerns with the classroom teacher. Scribe. This is when a student needs someone else to write answers for them. This is usually for students who are blind or may have challenges with fine motor skills that affect handwriting and typing. It's important to note that if you're assigned to scribe for an individual, you write their answers word for word without including any additional fillers or information. These are only a few accommodations you may see frequently. However, some students have more and some students have less. It all depends on the need. Please make sure you're familiar with student accommodations to ensure equal access to the materials. If you are unsure what an accommodation means, don't guess. Ask the supervising teacher to help you. Modifications are for students who may need more significant amounts of help to access the general education curriculum. Modifications look a lot like accommodations, but they do change the content. Typically, this happens when a student is well below grade level in certain subjects. We still want the learning material to be meaningful and accessible. For example, Jane is in an 8th grade Earth Science course. Currently, the class is learning about weather patterns. Jane is reading at a first grade level and doesn't seem to understand some of the technical language involved with learning about meteorological aspects of weather patterns. Something that Jane is working on is staying safe in the community. The supervising teacher and paraprofessional brainstorm about modifications they could make to ensure the curriculum is relevant to Jane. They decide to teach Jane about what to do in the event of a weather emergency, such as downed power lines in a storm, a tornado watch or warning, a hurricane, earthquake, fire, etc. Additionally, they're also going to discuss how to dress according to the forecasted weather. The supervising teacher is in charge of collecting these materials and giving them to you, and will likely ask that you share them with the earth science teacher as well. It's important you keep a copy of accommodations and/or modifications when working with a student to ensure compliance with the IEP. Lastly, each student on an IEP is required to have goals in the areas affected by their disability, requiring specially designed instruction. Goals are written to be specific and timely with a way to measure. Many goals can be addressed across multiple environments. Please make sure you have a copy of student goals along with accommodations and/or modifications. You never know when you'll have an opportunity to work on a goal. Since you'll be spending the majority of the day with students, you'll likely be asked to monitor progress. Each teacher has a different way to collect data on student progress. Please make sure you're well versed in these data collection methods when working with students. Also, please make sure you're collecting data with integrity. If your supervising teacher asks you to collect data on Monday during Jane's Earth Science class, but you forgot, do not fudge the data to appease your supervising teacher. Please let them know that you were unable to collect it that day and you'll do it on a different day. Most data collection happens every 2 weeks or monthly, so there's almost always flexibility to reschedule. One of the most important things to remember amongst all of this information is that this information is confidential. This information is not yours to share with students, parents, community members, or teachers who do not work with your students.